Welcome back to the channel, and today I have for you the fourth release from Quiet Carry Knives this year, and this right here is a brand new Quiet Carry Rincon. If I'm saying that incorrectly, I'm sorry, but I'll have it somewhere up here. And this right here is a medium-sized EDC at 7.36 inches long with a 3.2 inch clip point blade of Van Eyck super clean steel. Absolutely love it. And this particular one has the, I think, stunning looking stepped milled blade. And he did a small batch of these. I think they already sold out, but don't worry if you missed out on these. They will have another batch coming in the next following weeks. They won't have the milled lines on them, but they'll have a beautiful deep hollow grind like this one does right here. You have an excellent sharpening choil that should give you tons of sharpening life before it starts to widen back here. Beautiful row of functional jimping. It's only grippy when you want it to be, and it's well placed, nice and long, even if you have large, extra large hands. You have a needle-like point. Look at that point for piercing. That hollow grind really brings it down to a nice thin tip. Great for piercing. This nice hollow grind is pretty high, comes down to around 18 thousandths behind the edge. At least that's what mine measured. So it's going to be really slicey, and it's going to keep that thinness a good ways up. And it's going to take a while before it starts to actually get thick. I did all the normal testing with this one, and man, oh man, cardboard, it was gliding through it effortlessly. Every Quiet Carry knife I've ever gotten had a beautiful, beautiful edge on it. This one was no different. Now, I will say, after testing all the Quiet Carry knives that I've ever had, I think I've had every model in their lineup. Every one of them, I've sharpened them after I did my testing, and you will definitely see a dramatic increase in edge retention. Van Eyck Super Clean is highly, highly corrosion resistant. That's one thing I love about it. Living here in the South, that's a big plus for me. And not only does it have great corrosion resistance, it has excellent edge retention as well. It's one of my top steels. I just like it a lot, and I don't ever really have to worry about it rusting. This knife is in their environmental series, meaning that it's going to be pretty much rust resistant. It's not going to rust. It's going to take a lot for this to rust. You have titanium scales. The Van Eyck blade, I think marine grade stainless hardware. Your lock bar insert is made of Zephonant or LC200N. That's not going to rust. And you have phosphor bronze washers. And this thing's got a buttery smooth action. Let's talk about all the cutting. Only thing to me that would have made this better if this tip would have been in line with that pivot. Just because in order to use that tip, you're going to almost have to sit up vertical. But I usually, if I'm cutting on a flat surface, being that I can't do the drag cuts as easy, I can get them started close or, almost to that tip to do a drag cut. None of the materials gave it any issues. I was wondering, it's been a while since I've tested one of these knives with a step milled blade, because you can actually feel the steps on it. And I was wondering if it was going to get hung up in any of the stuff I cut, especially any of the stuff that kind of grabs the hold to the sidewalls, like the tubing. But nothing really gave it any trouble. It blasted through tubing like no problem. The edge held up excellently. And one good thing about having a deep belly like that on a clip point, it is a lot easier to do cuts on a flat cutting surface. If you needed to slice into something and you didn't want to go super deep like you would say a Warncliffe, you can really use that wrist motion to do a really fine finesse cut through, flesh or whatever you're using the knife for. And one thing that I have come to love with a lot of the Quiet Carry knives is the ergos. Now, this one is only a flat scaled knife. This particular one has a stonewash finish. You have some nice micro milling on the forward choil right here. I think that looks stunning. You have the holes on both sides, their signature 4 holes. Now, like I said, it's a flat scaled knife, but the softening they've done on the edges of these scales is remarkable. Look at that. I wish more companies could follow suit, because when they're done this well, it makes flat scales almost feel like contoured scales, in my opinion, at least with all the knives I've ever tested. Now, being that this is kind of rounded right there, you can choke up right there if you want, if you need to get right up to that edge for some fine detail work. I was able to get very fine curls into the wood very easily, and then just pushing a little bit harder. And I mean, I was taking chunks out. I want to bite fast and deep, and I had absolutely no hot spots. The pocket clip is rounded on the edges, no points that are going to jab me. Even where it sits in my palm, I had no issues whatsoever. Now you could choke back if you wanted to sit into this choil area. I found myself up here a lot. It was comfortable. And even whenever I wanted to choke back like this, it's still comfortable. One thing that I hope we really see on this knife right here is this knurling pattern that they have on the drift and the waypoint. I think this pattern right here is absolutely gorgeous, and it offers perfect traction. I just wish we could get it on both sides. That'd be remarkable. But this pattern on here would look outstanding. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. So yeah, the performance of the knife, on point. Like I said, of course I would have liked a lower tip, but this is a clip point. I can appreciate it, and it performed really well. So, you know, even though it's not my first choice of blade shape, I still love the blade. I mean, I still love the knife. All right, let's talk about the deployment and action of the knife. You have a blade hole for deployment that is accessible on both sides, no problem. I think the thumb flick, the middle finger flick is the easiest to do, and that's, you know, my go-to on it. But you can also thumb flick it, and this one you can also slow roll it. You got a nice size hole there. It's a lot easier to get to, and the action on this thing is super buttery smooth. I like a good phosphor bronze action, and when I say this thing, it is broken in really, really nicely. Knowing what I know about the phosphor bronze washers on my Quiet Carry Drift, those washers, once they polish themselves or burnish themselves, they get so smooth. So this one started out smooth, just like on the large drift. The action on the large drift, the phosphor bronze washers on this are, look at that. I can shake it down. There's no play. Very, very smooth action. This one is already nice and smooth, and I can't wait till it is broken in fully, and those phosphor bronze washers are so silky smooth you can easily shake it down. As you can see, I can still shake it down. Yeah, I can appreciate a phosphor bronze washer knife. I can appreciate knife-on bearings. I like them all. I just have a passion for knives, so it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's done well. Sorry if y'all can hear a lawnmower in the background. I think my neighbor's cutting his grass. Only thing I will say, if you're going to do the thumb flick, you do need to make sure your finger's not on this lock bar. I put my fingers on the pocket clip, and I have no issues whatsoever. So very nice action, nice and silky smooth. Your hardware on the knife, Torx T8 throughout. Love it. Everything's nice and flush and countersunk. There's no Torx heads on the show side scale. Keep it nice and clean. And I want y'all to look at this. This is the second knife that I've reviewed this week, or that I've had on the channel this week, that is nice and clean on the frame lock side because the lock relief is on the inside. Doesn't that look so much better? I think it looks great. Everything's got nice chamfers on it. You can see the lock relief. You got a nice chamfer. They even look at this. They even knocked off the corner edges. So there's no sharp pokey spots on this knife. Really nice milled titanium pocket clip. You don't have to worry about it getting hung up in this lock relief. And now it is tip up, right hand carry only. And it's a deep carry clip. As you can see, it goes all the way down. Your lock insert is also an over travel protection, so you don't accidentally overspring your lock bar. The lockup on this one, very, very tight lockup. No play any direction. And that's insane. Like, no side to side play. I could flex the blade because it's thin, but I have no movement whatsoever. And this is phosphor bronze washer, so that's how you know it's done very, very well. Take a look at the inside. As you can see, you have tons of skeletonization, pocketing in there. Love seeing that. Let's try to bring the weight down as much as possible. Bring the weight down to 103.7 grams or 3.657 ounces. Outstanding. The balance point is a little butt heavy on the knife. You can see it's a little bit behind that choil area. I think it's due to the deep hollow grind and the thinner blade stock. Quick size comparison, it's about identical in length to the Quiet Carry Waypoint, and it's a bigger knife than the regular size Drift. Very similar to the Quiet Carry the 9 and the Benchmade Bug Out. Ontario Wrap 1 and 2. Spyderco PM2 and Power 3. Nitpicks and complaints, I really don't have much. They nailed it. You know, they do a good job of implementing the things that people complained about on previous models on their newer models. Personal preference, I would have preferred a low tip drop point or a straight clip that brought that tip down even with the pivot, just because it's a way more versatile blade shape. But that said, I still love the knife. You know, it's not a cheap knife. It's got premium materials. Vanex is a very premium exotic steel, and this is a very well made knife. These come in at $3 something, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if that's gonna be the same price for the non-milled blades. I'm not sure. Yeah, let me know what y'all think about this one. I'm definitely a fan. If you own any Quiet Carry knives, which ones do you own? Which one's your favorite? Even if you don't own any, which one would you want to own the most? This year, they have just having banger after banger after banger. Whenever the 9 came out, I just didn't think he was going to be able to top that. Then he came out with the Quiet Carry LC, that thick, contoured, super slicey Drift. And then, man, I think this one has impressed me the most because of how thin, lightweight. You have that full-size blade, nice and slicey, and the action on this thing is so silky smooth. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one.